This is 22 Beechwood Avenue in Derry, in the Bogside. And this is where O'Neill's lived, and it's almost where I lived for a couple of years as well, because I was never out of their house. This is where John and Damien would have written all the songs for the Undertones, basically. In that front room in the 1970s, we had a record player, or O'Neill's had a record player and claiming ownership on it. And we lived in that room. We just went to that room every night, listened to records, talked about being in a band, talked about, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then whenever we actually were in a band, whenever we had the records going, we would then rehearse in O'Neill's bedroom, Damien's bedroom, which he nicknamed the Pit. That tells you what it was like, you know, not luxuriously appointed. But we were there, and it was that was almost Undertones HQ, which is significant, I think, because that whole thing about a lot of culture in Derry was done in somebody's front room, you know, or a guy in a bedroom working on things, you know, you write at home.
And was that because of the Troubles?
Possibly because of the Troubles subconsciously, because, you know, like my parents were happy that I was just down the road and they knew where I was all the time. It's not like I wasn't out roaming the streets, same with Billy and same with Fergal's parents. You know, we weren't out, we never rioted. The Undertones never rioted, really. So we were always in, and we were in O'Neill's house, they knew where we were. The other thing as well is that nowadays there would be rehearsal rooms for bands, there would be that kind of infrastructure, you know, which is great. You know, we've got the Nerve Centre in there, which provides many facilities. In our day, sound like an old man, in our day, we had that. We had O'Neill's house, but I wouldn't have changed it.
So how much do you think Derry as a city, not just the Troubles, but how much do you think Derry as a city defined the band? You know, would you have been a different band if you'd come from a different city?
I think we would have. We had the isolation that we didn't see other bands. You know, we read the NME, but we didn't see other live bands. We existed through records, through listening to records. And also as well, Derry has this thing, as you know, you don't like to get above your station. You know, people will very quickly jump on you if you have any sense of pretentiousness or anything. I think that defined it as well. Also, Derry's really good in terms of its musical history as well. You know, my father played accordion in a Ceilidh band. Fergal's family were big musically in Irish traditional music, you know, Irish singing and so on, and Irish musical competitions. So it wasn't strange to be in a band. Everybody knew of somebody. You know, the bands at the time weren't that great, apart from us. But you knew. Look, you knew some people, some older people who you could borrow equipment from and so on. You know.
So is that why you think there are so many bands from young people here now? Is it still this ongoing sense of a presence of the musical history?
There is that. There's Derry in the 1960s had a lot of show bands, which is a very Irish thing, but a lot of them were from Derry, and they spread out all over Ireland. Derry had, for Catholic Derry especially, it had the Fish, which is like an Irish music festival, happens every Easter. Fergal was very prominent in that. So many children got used to the idea of standing on a stage at some part of their lives, standing there, you know, singing an Irish song that they didn't really understand, and that always feeds onto the idea of music being something that you did, not that you were looking for a career out of it. But it's just something that you did.
You shot the video for My Perfect Cousin here, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. And Julian Temple did it. It made Julian's career. But what I always remember about it is because O'Neill's had an electric meter, a 50p meter, and we were filming inside. Bright lights. They were shooting Fergal playing with Subaru, and the lights went out. And we patted ourselves. We said, well, have no money, so Julian had to send one of the crew down to Crossan's shop, a sweet shop down at the bottom of the street, to get 50p's. And it's a good video, best video we ever did, but it was filmed in there and out in their yard too.
So why was it so important to you as a band to maintain the links with Derry and to maintain your base here? Because so many bands would move to London.
Well, there's a couple of things. One of the things was that we had girlfriends, which up until then we never had girlfriends, so there was a lot of emotional attachment that way. But also that thing about, you know, I particularly was very anti-London-based music industry. You know, we went over there and we saw people who were, you know, probably very nice people, very nice guys, but you saw guys in record companies and they were all, you know they've been, you know, wearing silk bomber jackets and so on, and we kind of went, we just didn't like them. We just didn't like that whole scene. So we came back here to comfort, you know.
And when you say you didn't like them, what did they think about these lads from Derry? Were they quite sniffy or?
No, they were really nice. You know, they worked for their job was to promote the band, but the Undertones being very, very strange people, we kind of just didn't like the idea of them, you know. Possibly as well, they didn't understand what we were saying, you know. I am now speaking very clearly, but in those days, you know, it was almost a secret language that only the five of us understood.
But they probably didn't know what to make of you, did they? Because all they saw of Derry on the TV was the Troubles, and then here you guys are not singing about the Troubles at all, just singing about falling in love with girls and.
Yeah, no, a lot of them didn't. A lot of them did get it though, because you know, we signed to the same label as the Ramones, and we immediately said we love the Ramones. So some of them got that, but whenever you met other record company people, and some of them, you know, I remember there was a record ad. I remember there was a radio ad for our first LP, and we were played it before it went out. And it really did say they came from the war-torn streets of Derry to the top of the charts, and we had to say, "Please stop!" You know, no. We had to stop that. So there always was that. You know, if you're looking for a tag to sell a band, you're going to pick up on the Troubles.
And what about the young people now? Then, would you say that young people in Derry are just like young people anywhere else in the UK, or is there more disaffection? Because you do, you know, we still hear about tensions rumbling on.
Depends who you talk to. There are, you can't deny that there are some young people who still carry the, not the effects of the Troubles, but they still sort of almost carry that struggle, you know, as they would see it. Some of them on both sides. But a lot of them, vast majority of people are just, they want to go beyond it. They want to say, no, like we'll have the same worries as everywhere else in the rest of the world. We worry about money, we worry about houses and so on. But then again, if you're a teenager, when I was a teenager, I didn't worry about the world. All I cared about was my friends and records and, you know, lack of girlfriends and everything else. So,
did you care about your hometown?
Did I care about Derry? I think I did, but not care enough that I would do anything. You know, I was never involved in any movements or anything. It was where you lived and you liked it and you knew people.
But you care about it now, presumably?
Oh, I care about it now, yeah. I do. You can see, the older you get, you can see the good things about Derry. You can also see that, you know, the bad things about Derry. But you can see, I love just walking around the place. I love walking across that bridge. I love seeing Derry from an unusual vantage point. And I also like the fact it's home, and it's been home for all my life almost. You know.
But your emotional relationship with it has evolved over the years.
It has, yes. I'm more interested in the history of it now, and I can see that it needs a lot of help now, and we are getting the help. You know, we could do with more, but we are getting help. And also, there's a certain Derry spirit that people still have, and it's not just among older people. You know, young people in Derry have that spirit.
What is that spirit?
There's great humour. There's great humour. There's self-deprecation. There is what people in Derry call the Derry slagging, which can sometimes annoy people. But you know, I remember whenever we were having hit records, you know, people in vans and white vans or guys in the street would always shout at you, and they would shout things like just, you know, they would shout the titles of your songs. They would shout "Jimmy, Jimmy," and you kind of, at that stage when you're about 19 or 20, you sort of get annoyed about it. Bizarrely, it happened to me about 5 years ago. I was walking along the street and somebody wound down the car window and shouted "Jimmy, Jimmy," and I didn't know whether to laugh or be annoyed or what, you know. But I just thought, that's typical Derry.
Well, you seem quite fond of it now, talking about that Derry
slang.
Right? There's a smile on your face when you're telling that story.
Yeah, that's because I'm probably one of the worst proponents of it, yeah. No, there is that, as I said, some people say that people in Derry put you down a lot. And there might be a bit of truth in that, but I sometimes think that's a good counterbalance to endless, you know, the endless boasting and, you know, follow your dream stuff, which can be a bit false as well, you know. There's a nice balance there. People say, how long, son, you know.
And how do you think that Derry spirit is reflected in the arts that have come out of the city then?
I don't know if it's reflected really in the arts at the moment. It's a very difficult thing to reflect in the arts, you know. There's a couple of humorous websites which are very rooted in Derry humour, but whether it travels, I don't know. So
Well, I'll tell you what then, slightly different question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think the Derry spirit will impact on Derry's year as UK City of Culture?
It will get things done, or no, it won't get things done. It'll get things criticised. The spirit will come through in looking at it and judging it for what it is, and not blindly going in saying this is fantastic, this is brilliant. Looking at it and going, yeah, that's good, that's not good, that's funny, that's not funny. There's a bit of that, you know. I'd like to think people in Derry will not just go blindly into something saying, this is wonderful. Kind of go, yeah, this is good. You know?
But does that mean that inevitably it's going to get a slagging?
Oh, it's already got slaggings. Yeah, of course. And, you know, there'll be another year of it. Healthy slagging, absolutely healthy slagging.